the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Issues, but offense is not one of them, especially talent. SEC betting win totals, though. They are out here on BetOnline AG this week, Matt Green, and I thought this was a really interesting early look ahead to what Vegas and the insiders see when it comes to how the SEC is going to look now with the Super Conference, with Texas and Oklahoma coming into the fold. But my first question to you, when you look at all 16 teams here represented with their betting win totals here in the future props, which total for you is the most shocking when you look at this, Matt Green?
Well, for one, I was like, ooh, Georgia, 10.5, huh? We haven't seen Georgia at 10.5 in a few years. But I think the one that hadn't really hit me yet is Missouri, sitting at 9.5. That just, seeing Missouri ahead of Tennessee, ahead of Oklahoma, like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Like, I know what they got coming back. Like, they were a pretty good team last year. But I'm not ready to just pencil them in for 10 wins again, and like 9 at the worst. Like, I don't know. Is Missouri at 9 wins being a like disappointing year level at this point?
I wonder with the fans too. Like, what are the fans' expectations here? Because obviously you have a breakthrough year. Look, no offense to Columbia and the fans, but it's a sleepy place to play more often than not. I don't think it's like of the most passionate fan bases in the SEC. I don't think they're ever going to rank near the top. But I do wonder where their heads are at, because obviously they had a lot of early success when they came into the SEC, winning the East multiple times right out of the gate here. But they obviously slid a little bit after that, and they've struggled to find their footing. And now the East is away. They don't play Tennessee this year. So unfortunately, Tennessee will not get revenge at home in Neyland this particular season. But I wonder, if you're a Mizzou fan, have you pivoted where you're like, oh, look at where Drinkwitz is? Like, we hire well. We got Kirby Moore in here. We just lost our DC, but we paid, and we're going to be okay. Because like losing Baker might be a huge deal for Mizzou, to lose a big time DC to LSU like that. We'll see if the defense is just as good as what they were a year ago. But Kirby Moore, Kellen's brother, was a huge addition to that offense last year, and he's back. So you're able to retain him for yet another year in Columbia. Brady Cook back for what feels like his 7th college football season. Luther Burden back, obviously, is a big deal for them. But I think, to me, and I mean, I don't even know if I mentioned that huge endowment or donation they got like this past month. So that huge investment into the athletics program, biggest ever. Do you remember that, Matt Green? Like, Mizzou got that right? Huge, that they got a gigantic, it was like 62 million or something donation. So they Mizzou is
they're trying to play big boy ball.
They are. And that's the whole thing, is what you're saying, where it's like, it's just kind of weird to see Mizzou up there with the big dogs and Vegas, and people just expecting them to run this back next year. And I'm very curious if that's the expectation, or fans are still like, hey, like, we're fine if we're 8-4. We're still, hey, we understand that the SEC's loaded, and like, Texas and Oklahoma are coming in, like, it's going to get harder. And look, we had a great year last year, but maybe that's only something that happens every 3 to 4. Or they're like, hey, we broke through. We're part of the big dogs now. We're one of the 5 best programs in the SEC, this, that, and the other. I'm very curious where the fans' heads are at with Mizzou.
Well, and I think the schedule definitely plays a role in this number being as high as it is. It's funny because, we kind of talked about the East and West through the years, that like, I'd love to see Auburn in the East and see, how much success they could have playing in a weaker division, or, maybe Kentucky at times, like they're not as good as their record looks. You put them over in the West and they're not going to be good. There's been a lot of, maybe disrespecting Georgia for, they wouldn't be in the SEC championships as many times if they had to go through the West. So you're seeing Missouri now, the schedule we anticipated getting more difficult because, instead of being in the weaker SEC East, now they're going to play everybody. But now they don't have to play Georgia next year, and they go at Alabama, But if there's ever a year you could pick to go at Alabama, I mean, it's 2024. Like they could be a top 10 team, top 5 team next year, but this is the most uncertainty they've had in 20 years, basically. And then they go at A&M, like another team that's like super talented and will be a difficult road game. But if those are the 2 toughest road games you got all season, those are beatable opponents. Like those aren't teams that we necessarily anticipate being like top 5, top 10 teams next year.
If you're a fan, these are those schedules that I would just be so annoyed because they don't play a real game until October 5th. October 5th, Matt Green. Like they're opening with Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, Vandy, and then a bye before they go to A&M.
Boston College is a little, at least you're playing like a Power 5 team, like a major conference team. It's like something you can get excited about. Like the Buffalo and Murray State games. Yeah, you're playing backups, but you can at least be excited, especially you got to get revenge after Boston College won a couple years ago.
That's true. This feels like a 9-3 schedule to me. I would hit the under right now. We're not doing our over-unders yet, but this looks like 9-3 to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see this team winning 10 games because, I mean, just thinking about what they were a year ago, like Luther Burden has got that potential to be like this is a loaded wide receiver class this past year. Like seeing this NFL draft stuff coming out, like there's 5-6 guys up there at the top that are all elite. Like Luther Burden could be the best receiver in college football in 2024. And Brady Cook, we saw how good he was at times last year too. So Missouri, I wouldn't sleep on them, but you're right. It's something about betting on Missouri to win 10 games that I don't feel great about that bet either.
No, but it's a good schedule nonetheless. I think you feel good if you're a Mizzou fan.
Who
it's also
stands
like
out to you? Oh, go ahead.
If they win 10, are they in the playoff? I think they're in the playoff, right?
I guess it depends on the 10 they win. Does it? Like, because if A&M, Alabama, and Oklahoma, I think are their big 3 games. Like, if you lose 2 of those 3, you don't have many key wins. Like, it might depend. Because because you're looking at them. Like last year, do they get in? Or does like Ole Miss and Penn State get in last year? They were like 11-12, but when you start talking automatic qualifiers and the at large, I'm not sure if they do get in with those. I think those 10-2 teams, you got to have a good win or 2 on the schedule.
I like it. Matt Green, next. Which is the best buy now bet for you? So for all Matt Green's friends listening right here, who is your recommendation on the best? Like this might move a little bit. This is the one to jump on right now, like either the over or the under on these win totals. Who is it for you?
I'm going to leave out Georgia because I really don't.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.